I recently watched the Maze Runner movies for the first time, and yes, I know like I'm a little bit late to the party, but from the very start of them, I noticed something that was like very interesting, which is that like this wasn't just a sci-fi movie, but it felt like this whole experiment was actually a metaphor for real life.
I'm sure by now you must all be very confused, angry, frightened.
And specifically what it's like being different from everyone else, or being someone like who's chasing their dreams. So brief summary for those of you who haven't seen it, or to refresh your memory for those of you who have seen it. And yeah, it's like I might be giving away some spoilers, but like you guys had 10 years to see it. Anyways, so Thomas gets inside an elevator shaft, and he arrives in this strange place, but yet he doesn't remember anything, like, and he doesn't even know like how he got there.
Day one, Greeny. Rise and shine.
He starts off running, but then he finds like all these other kids who were there, who've essentially started like their own society. However, there's a giant wall or maze that's blocking everything off and closing everything off from the rest of the world. Behind the wall and the maze are like these monsters who are called grievers, and it's been said that like no one has ever survived a night behind that wall. So that sets the scene, of course, but like Thomas is a natural born leader, and a dreamer who doesn't just like accept whatever he's been told. He has this deep inner knowing that like this whole place isn't natural, and that there's something that's holding them back. Turns out there's an experiment that's been done like by some wicked adults, which also just so happens to be like the name of their company, Wicked. And this company was conducting a full-on experiment on these kids. And also, like as we see in the other movies, there are more mazes out there. There's also supposedly a deadly virus that's going around, etc, etc. Anyways, while watching this movie series, and like did push my limits as a not someone who likes scary movies, and honestly my heart was constantly pounding throughout, but like the story itself was so good that I had to finish. So in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing why the series overall, but like in particular the first movie, was a really good analogy for the path to chasing your dreams, and I think and hope you guys are going to find this to be like a super powerful message. So anyways, without further ado, let's dive deeper now.
Give me a...
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the Jared and James channel. I'm Jared Weiss. If you guys didn't know, that must mean that you're not subscribed to the channel, so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on the video. Follow me on every platform, and if you guys haven't done so already, make sure to check out my book, Fight Through by Jared Weiss. All links purchased it on my website, which is jaredryanweiss.com. That's JaredRyanWeiss.com. Buy the book, support me, and make sure to check out all those some shirts in there as well. Every shirt has been designed by me, every shirt is made of 100% organic cotton, so any support at all, as I'm always saying, would be very much appreciated. So let's dive deep into the whole Maze Runner analogy now. So in the first Maze Runner movie, Thomas arrives like in this place called the Glade, and all the other kids in the movie are there to inform him that like this is basically just like the way it is. This is the way it's always been, and this is like how it has to be.
We grow our own food, we build our own shelter. Whatever we need, the box provides.
They're all convinced like no one can escape, so they may as well make the best of it. However, Thomas, like myself, is someone who questions everything, and someone who's never accepted like, well, this is just how it is because this is like how it's always been. I don't see that as a good answer. So Thomas looks at this wall or maze in front of him, and immediately thinks to himself, there must be a way around this.
What's out there? Never go beyond those walls.
For anyone out there who believes like they could achieve the impossible, this is exactly what it's like for us. We set big goals and see solutions, where everyone else is only focusing on the limitations. Throughout my whole life, whenever people told me that like I can't be a good athlete or I can't dunk because I'm too short or I don't have like the right genetics, they're all trying to put up this huge wall in front of me, but rather than deter me, this actually makes me curious. Why don't they think that like this could be done? Is it actually impossible? Or is it just like that someone like me has never come along to try? Even when it comes to like so many of my overarching beliefs, it's like all of us learn the same things in school, and so as soon as you start to step outside the box a bit and like ask some questions, these people are going to try to pull you back down and keep you back inside the system because that's like what they've chosen to accept.
Stay here. Stay as long as you can.
But I'm always like, well, what if that's not the case? What if all these things that we learned aren't actually the truth? What if all of us are so much more powerful than we've all been led to believe? And so Thomas is like the only one initially who's willing to risk his life to find the potential escape.
Newt, we gotta go back out there. Who knows where this might lead us?
To me, this sounds a whole lot like I'm gonna get there or I'm gonna die trying, which has been like my whole mindset basically too. No matter how many times the others in the Glade try to tell Thomas like he can't do it, he refuses to believe that like they've tried every option. He has this deep inner knowing that like there must be a way out. Now next up, everyone is initially comfortable in the Glade because like none of them know any other way. All the kids who came to the Glade had all their memories erased, so this became like essentially all they knew. They've just been convinced that like this is normal, living behind a wall which is like a giant maze, and no parents and no adults around, until one person comes along to show them like, no, this isn't normal.
First he breaks our rules, and then he tries to convince us to abandon them totally.
And of course it seems so obvious to anyone who's watching. It's like you have these kids with all this potential, and yet here they are living mediocre lives, and just fitting in as cogs to the system. So do you guys want to know what this sounds a whole lot like to me? The modern day education system. You have all these kids out there who are full of energy, ideas, and creativity, who are being told to sit down and shut up and like believe whatever we're told, or to believe like whatever the system decides is important for the next 8 hours.
The rules are the only thing that have ever held us together. Why now are we questioning that?
Then you go home, do all this homework, and get used to studying for hours upon hours every night on the information like we tell you was important, and then what happens after that? You have to regurgitate it all into every test. And of course, most of this information you're never gonna have to know again after school, but like you pay all this money, go to college, end up in debt, and so many people then take a job they hate in order to like to pay off all the debt, etc., etc. That's essentially what keeps things running according to them. But it's like, as one of my favorite scenes in the movie Accepted shows, which also happens to be like another one of my favorite movies, is when the character who's played by Blake Lively is telling Bartleby, aka Justin Long, how she's really interested in photography, but yet her advisor tells her like she can't take this class, and instead like she has to take some random liberal arts class, because supposedly that's like a better way for her to spend her tuition.
Certain photography classes don't apply to a degree in photography.
Wow, that makes no sense at all.
I know.
And how does Bartleby respond? That makes no sense at all. And so he ultimately creates his own college, where the students inspire and guide the curriculum. Now of course, keep in mind, I'm someone like who went through the whole school system, and I always did like very well in school. So I'm not telling you guys not to try, I'm not telling you all like to drop out or whatever. However, the whole system never sat right with me. I'm just like, we can be living so much better, and Thomas in the Maze Runner is like the exact same way. This isn't normal, it doesn't make sense.
You know we can't stay here forever, right?
And of course, every time he tries to tell the others this, they'll call him crazy. It's like, we've been doing this for all these years, and like we never had any issues, and all of us have gotten by. But I'm always the one who's like, what if we actually want to thrive and not just get by? And it's like, hey, if you guys want to hide behind these walls, or all these imaginary ceilings that like all you guys have chosen to place on your potential, fine, but why can't we both exist? I'll do things my way and you do things your way. However, so often whenever you show people their potential, they're not always open to believing it, because doing so can scare them. Because it's like, imagine being told like you spent all these years in the system that was designed to bring you down and make you less of who you are. And so, sticking with the Maze Runner analogy, it becomes like, if you can escape the maze, what does it say about us staying inside? Did all of us just like waste all this time? And this is why so many people justify it, not realizing that like this wasn't the only and far from the best way to do things. It's like an example I brought up in the past coming from the book The Straight A Conspiracy. So basically, it was a study that was done on kids from elementary school and then like once again in high school. And so in elementary school, all these kids were asked if they viewed themselves as creative, and at that time, almost all of them said yes. However, by the end of high school, all of them were asked the same question again, and the vast majority of them said no. I'm sorry, but like that just doesn't sit right with me. If we have a school system that takes away that spark from kids, something has to change. Moving right along, even sometimes like when you show people like there is a better way, they still don't want to see it. It's like how I love taking examples of older people who are achieving massive physical goals.
Old people are the greatest. They're full of wisdom and experience.
Or how I show myself going after my dunk and athletic goals, and I love taking examples of people who are doing things that were previously thought to be impossible. And of course, some people love this and some people are fully on board with my message. But then what happened with me back in high school, as well as like to this day, is that sometimes I get all these people laughing at me and mocking all my big dreams. And of course, I get all these people who think I'm stupid for believing in my mass potential and theirs as well, which is like so crazy.
Stupid is a mean word.
But it's like, I can show people prime examples of others who've done what they think is impossible, and yet they'll still laugh at it. But this is also like why I've realized that my job isn't to convince these people anymore. It's to help inspire those who are ready to level up their lives just like me. It's exactly like how Thomas in Maze Runner realizes that like he's not going to get everyone to come on board with him, no matter how hard he tries. He's shown people like he killed a griever.
And this is the first real clue, the first anything you've found in over 3 years, right, Mino?
He showed them like he survived the night behind the wall. And yet Glade is still telling everyone that Thomas is crazy.
This shank needs to be punished.
And that what he's suggesting is impossible, even though like he shows them the proof. So at that point, who's the actual crazy one? So you're not going to get everyone to like you or believe in you. And this of course can be tough as a people pleaser like me. But I used to think to myself like I have to prove all the haters wrong. And I have to show them. But now I realize that like some people are never going to see it. And honestly, I can't make them. I can't force them to see my vision. So they can stay in their small mindset, they can think I'm crazy. But I'm not changing who I am to satisfy them. And I'm also not going to limit myself to make them feel more comfortable. My favorite line from the first Maze Runner movie is when Mino says, referring to Thomas, I don't know if he's brave or stupid, but whatever it is, we need more of it.
He didn't just see it. He killed it.
This is such a powerful line and analogy for anyone who thinks outside the box or who questions the conventional way of doing things, and that's someone who dares to dream big. Initially, you're going to be called crazy, and of course, sometimes bravery does look stupid because you're believing in something without any tangible proof. It's like me believing I could have a podcast even while I've been healing from massive health challenges and like massive speech challenges, or me believing like I could dunk basketball despite having all these perceived limitations, mainly my height. So of course, to the untrained eye, it looks like I'm crazy or stupid.
Oh, you're crazy. Am I?
But what I found also is that like you will get people, or at least a certain type of person who respects this because they've actually thought it too. They just weren't ready to say it yet. And this is why, as the line from Coach Carter goes, when we let our own lights shine, we also liberate the lights of others around us. So whenever you dream big, you also encourage others to do the same. Recently, for instance, I had someone come up to me at the gym asking me for vertical jump advice because after seeing the proof of how high I could get and like seeing how far all my beliefs have been getting me, now he wants to go for it too. So you will get some people on board once you show them the proof, and these people will become part of your tribe. But once again, you can do everything, and yet some people are still never going to see it, unfortunately. But truth is, they were never meant to. It's always going to sound crazy until it's been done. But I'm someone who chooses to see things before they happen. I see the potential for greatness, and this is also like why I love hyping people up, because I believe every single one of us can achieve more, and if we just expand our minds a little bit, we'll see it for ourselves too. And so getting back to Maze Runner, initially, the runners and like the only ones who were allowed to go inside the maze were supposed to be reserved for like a special few people. And no matter how hard Thomas tried, they all said like he couldn't do it. Until he, the one person who knew like he could do it, decides to break the mold.
So let's just make this official. Starting from tomorrow, you're a runner.
He believed in himself enough, and eventually he was rewarded for this, and he got all these supporters for his boldness. So it did pay off in the end. The next lesson I want to talk about from the Maze Runner is this idea of leaders and followers. So as evidenced throughout these movies, Thomas is like a natural born leader. And so often early on he just led by example. He was bold, he stood strong in his convictions, and when he believed in something, he wasn't going to allow anyone to stand in his way and stop him.
Did anyone try climbing to the top?
Tried it.
Yeah, well, what about the box? You know, next time it comes up, you just
No, we
jump
tried
in.
that.
These are of course super magnetic qualities, and so some of the others came on board too. And this also leads me into something like I spoke about in my video on leadership recently, which is that being a follower isn't always a bad thing. And when it comes to things like you don't know much about, following the right person is actually going to make you a better leader too. The key is though, it's about knowing who you're following. It's very different to follow someone based on evidence and proof versus having blind obedience to someone just because they told you to or they coerced or forced you into following them. That's why we call a fake leader. The whole trust me just because like I'm in a position of authority is an extremely flawed way of looking at things, and I will never follow someone just based on that. We should all be critical thinking for ourselves, but whenever someone earns our trust in instances where it does actually make sense, following their lead can actually be like super beneficial. So in Maze Runner, Newt, Albie, and Mino were all strong followers of Thomas's lead.
It's bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
They weren't just simply blindly obeying him and doing whatever he said, but once he showed them the proof of his powerful leadership, they followed his lead, which was of course important for achieving these massive goals.
Hey, but there's a way out, Chuck. Me and me know we're gonna find it.
These of course were tasks that required a ton of teamwork, and so these couldn't just be like solo jobs. However, Glade, on the other hand, was not a true leader in that first movie. He opposed Thomas's boldness every chance he got, and he rejected someone who was trying to help them all escape this prison.
Everything started going wrong the minute you showed up.
He got too comfortable being held down that he actually justified the whole prison for them. It's not a true leader at all. Now this leads me into my final point about how Maze Runner is a powerful analogy for anyone chasing their dreams, and so the point I want to make is that mediocrity and living a life below your potential can mean comfort, which is why it becomes so hard to break it. So stepping outside the box leaves you vulnerable to being made fun of, it may lead to you being ousted from the tribe, and it means getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Chasing your dreams or doing something the unconventional way is so often not easy, and it requires you sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term gain. And so what happens though is that some people get so comfortable in their mediocrity and like the same way of doing things that like they almost start to create their own prison.
You only have 3 rules.
And if you're not careful, these people are going to impose their limits onto you. And this lines up perfectly with the whole Maze Runner movie. First, this prison was a maze that was imposed on them. They were also all brainwashed with the message that like wicked is good.
Remember, wicked is good.
Which also ties in with this idea that like so many things in our society are all backwards and like inverted. Whether it's that like unhealthy food is good because it's so common, or that everyone has to drink and smoke in order to grow up, or that all these low vibrational things that are so common in our society. But ultimately, getting back to the movie, what happens is that eventually when you've been in prison for so long, the characters start to justify it to themselves. So they, in essence, created their own prison within the one that was imposed on them. I mean, one of the craziest things was how like at the end of the first movie, Thomas and like all of his followers had won. They escaped the prison, they escaped the maze. And yet Glade made it to the end and was standing there telling them not to leave. He became so comfortable living in this prison that he couldn't stand to see anyone escape it. He loved the whole groupthink and didn't like how someone was an individual who thought for himself. Do any of you know people like this who got so comfortable living below their potential that like they get upset when someone out there tries to make more of themselves too? And furthermore, it was a whole similar story with Teresa. So she and Thomas had initially worked with Wicked, but they opposed it once like they saw the evil like that was being done on them and their friends. However, Teresa's mom had gotten sick, and the leader of Wicked had convinced her that doing this evil on the kids was actually a sacrifice for the greater good. Ever notice like how the people who say things like that never have to actually sacrifice the things for themselves? So this is of course a concept that so many false and fake leaders will use on you, and of course they're going to abuse it too. But Teresa once again was trying to bring back their prison, as in the second movie, she called Wicked like to take back the kids. Crazy, but same thing in the real world, how whenever you've been held down for so long you start to justify it, and you convince yourself and others that like doing this has to be the best way because it's been that way for so long. But is it actually? No. Anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing all the analogies. I hope this video inspires you like to break through the box, break through the mold, think for yourself. Anyways, I will catch you guys next time. If you guys like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, be sure to drop a like, leave a comment. I will catch you guys next time. Stay positive, stay hustling, stay grinding, catch you next time. Peace.